long one, but a spooky one that just happened to us this summer. Me and my boyfriend stayed at a pub hotel in the early summer, back when we were long distance, and boyfriend was still living in a different region. He would regularly come up to see me, and we'd stay in different hotels in my area of England, because I lived with my family. In this pub, in the room we were staying in, we had been having a little bit of an argument, but before it could escalate, I decided to go outside and sit in my car for 5 minutes. So I left the hotel and sat in my car, which was in the car park, a little after 9 p.m. When I returned to the room about 5 minutes later, my boyfriend told me that we were in trouble with the manager for being noisy. He told me that after I left the room, the manager had knocked on our room door and told him off for making noise, saying that he had received 2 complaints about the noise. Before we checked out the next morning, I was looking out of our room window and saw a young couple also leaving and wondered if it had been them that we'd annoyed and who had complained. We went out for breakfast, and things about the complaints didn't add up to me. For one thing, we weren't that loud and hadn't been arguing for even that long before I went out to my car. So how had 2 people managed to complain, and for that complaint to go straight to the manager, all in the space of the 5 minutes it took me to walk to my car and back? I concluded to my boyfriend that the manager must have heard us himself and made up that 2 different guests had complained. Fast forward to the afternoon of the day we checked out, and we unexpectedly needed to book another night at this pub hotel due to the trains all being on strike when boyfriend was due to travel back home. While I was at work, my boyfriend went back to the pub and checked us in for another night. He apologized for us being noisy the night before to the woman who was checking him in again. The woman said she hadn't known about us having made a noise, and my boyfriend told her that the manager had knocked on our door last night and told him off. The woman member of staff said that it was odd because the only staff they have on at night was the chef and the young male bartender, and neither of them go upstairs, and that their manager was a woman with blonde hair, not a man. The female member of staff said she doesn't know who the man was. None of the staff do, but that other guests have also told her the same, that a man had knocked on their door complaining about the noise, implying to be the manager. Well, the man my boyfriend had spoken to was in his 60s, with gelled back, salt and pepper hair, and he was really mean. My boyfriend recalled to me later that when he apologized, this man just glared at him and didn't make a move to leave, so my boyfriend just awkwardly shut the door on him. My boyfriend asked who else had stayed there, but was told that us and the other young couple I saw leaving were the only guests that previous night. This left us questioning who on earth the man was who knocked on our door, pretending to be the manager. So, that night, we were feeling quite creeped out. We were in a different room that was just opposite the one we'd previously stayed in. Anyway, eventually, we forgot about it and were having a bit of a laugh when a really hard knock on our room door rang out. My heart sank, and I was telling my boyfriend not to answer because it's the man again. He, of course, answered anyway. The door was about 2 to 3 feet from the bed we were on. He opened the door, and there wasn't anybody there, or in the corridor, which we were at the very end of. It was a long, straight, creaky corridor. Well, we were terrified by now. The next day, my boyfriend emailed the pub, explaining the situation and saying that we were concerned a weird stranger was knocking on doors in their hotel. We gave them the exact times of both incidents and asked them to check their CCTV cameras, one of which was right next to both of the rooms we'd stayed in. The manageress replied to his email with this: "Dear Mr. Blank, following your recent complaints about another guest knocking at your door late at night, we reviewed our CCTV footage from June 8th, 23 and June 9th, 23 at the stated times these incidents took place. On the 8th of June, 2023, at exactly 21:05 p.m., CCTV footage showed a man knocking and having a brief conversation with the guest in the room, after which the man turned left and walked down the corridor. However, he was not picked up on any CCTV footage, leaving the premises or walking further down the corridor. Following this, we have gone over security points of the building and made sure all entrances are secured to prevent anything like this from happening again. On June 9th, 2023, however, we did not pick up anything unusual happening on our cameras at the stated time of the incident. We hope these incidents didn't affect your stay at Redacted Pub, and we apologize profusely for any stress this may have caused. Just know we have taken all measures to resolve this. Kind regards, Manager. This email to us made us feel validated that we didn't imagine our experiences, especially to have it confirmed by the manager herself via CCTV. We did ask to see the CCTV ourselves, but our further emails were ignored, unfortunately. This pub was taken over by a pub chain company, and they are very strict with their staff about being anti-ghost stories and only focusing on quality customer service, according to a former member of staff who I by chance managed to speak to. This member of staff told me some crazy things about the pub. Thank you for reading this far. In my town, we have a library that's almost as old as the town itself. When I was about 12, I was assigned a history paper in school. Since we got to pick the topic, I decided that I wanted to do it on the history of the town itself. I went to the library to get some research material. The library is actually a large 2-story house, previously owned by one of the town's original prominent families. The second floor was off limits unless you received permission from the staff to go up there, because they store most of their historical documents and books up there. I was given permission to go upstairs to look through those books. I had no preconceived notions about the library, but I felt really creeped out upstairs alone for some reason. I was going through the books, trying to find something interesting, when from one side of the room, I heard a loud bang, like a door being slammed, which was odd, since they had removed all the doors. I felt really uneasy about being upstairs now, but I was there for a reason, so I decided to see what it was. Maybe a bookcase shelf gave out. I take a look in the side room, and there's only an old-school writing desk with a little plaque that says, Mr. Putnam, 1885. The room is a bit cold, but nothing is out of place. A little confused, I shrugged it off and go back to the center room to keep digging through books. I finally find a book that covers what I'm looking for and sit down to start reading. I get a few pages into the book and nearly have a heart attack when I hear another loud bang from another of the side rooms. This time, it sounded like someone threw a brick at the wall. I can see into part of the room, and it looks like it was a nursery or playroom based on the tiny rocking chair and teddy bear next to it. For some reason, I was terrified of going into that room. I did anyways, though, because I'm a dumbass. I walked into the room and turned to look in the corner I wasn't able to see from outside. I am frozen in utter terror as I meet the eyes of a young woman in a white dress hanging from the ceiling by her neck. She seemed to see me, but was motionless. I tried to yell, but I just couldn't get it out. I was, however, able to break free of her horrific gaze and run downstairs and out of the library. I sprinted the 6 blocks home. It wasn't until I told people about it that I found out one of the maids that worked in the house had become pregnant out of wedlock and unalived herself in that room. I still hate going near that library. When I was around 12, 2008, 2009, my family, mother and father, and I went to visit some relatives. my uncle, aunt, and cousin, in rural Tennessee. We were all sat in the living room, just talking, while the television played in the background. At some point, I went to use their restroom. The restroom is situated to the left in a hallway past their kitchen. There are no doors directly adjacent to the restroom door. I had a tendency in my youth to open the bathroom door before washing my hands, as to not recontaminate my hands with germs when I exited the restroom. So I used the restroom, opened the door, and as I was washing my hands, I saw someone walking by the door in the corner of my eye. I feel it's important to note the figure was moving in the opposite direction of the living room. The only rooms in the direction the figure was heading are the 2 bedrooms of the house. Other than those rooms, the hallway is a dead end. I also feel it's important to note that I did not only see the figure in my peripheral vision, it was very slow moving, and the moment it caught my eye, I turned my head. With both eyes looking directly at the doorway, I saw the figure move past the center of the door frame until it was out of sight to the left. This figure never once acknowledged my presence, stopped walking, or made any noise. The best description I can give of the figure is that it was an elderly woman, hunched over. Not hunched over far, but in the way many elderly people walk without being able to straighten their backs. The figure was wearing a seafoam green nightgown that wasn't very saturated, a very light seafoam green with an almost lacy mesh kind of transparency to it near the bottom of the dress, enough so that I remember taking note of being able to see the legs moving. The figure wore very thick and rounded square glasses with a transparent brown frame. She had tight, curly, permed likely, graying brown hair that was holding on to the last of its color. She was also a bit overweight. I saw her vividly. There was no transparency to her, nor was anything off about her. When I walked back into the living room, I asked the family who was there. All of the previously listed family members were still seated on their respective couches and chairs when I walked back into the living room. At this point, I was under the impression that an elderly relative of my relatives had arrived while I was in the restroom. They all reassured me that we were the only ones in the house and no one had come to visit after my parents and I. I doubled down, telling them I just saw someone walk past the restroom door. I even described, probably crudely, the woman I saw. My uncle immediately got up and began searching the house. He started in the back bedrooms and made his way back to the living room, thoroughly searching every nook and cranny along the way. There was no one else in the house. I kinda dropped it. It was weird, but it wasn't scary. I never once felt frightened. We moved on with the day, and that night, I was to sleep in my cousin's room with him. I had never been in that room prior to this night. Once I walked in, I immediately noticed a picture hung on the wall. It was the woman I saw. She had the same hairstyle and the same glasses. She was the same size and had all the same features. I questioned him about this, and he told me that was his grandmother, which I knew they had gotten this house from, but it never clicked in my head. She had died in the living room of old age. He told me his room was her old room, and when his parents remodeled it for him, they left that picture up. At this point, I did get a little hesitant because he had a deer head mounted on the wall. I was a big fan of Evil Dead 2, and I knew if ghostly shenanigans were afoot, that thing was going to maniacally laugh at some point in the night. It didn't, though. I slept soundly through the night and never saw or heard anything else. I have been to the house countless times, and I've never seen or heard anything else. I've never seen another apparition anywhere that I know of. So that's my rather unexplained event. I've told people I know countless times, but I've never written it out in a way like this before. If anyone else has thoughts or even similar experiences, I'd love to hear them. Hey friends, I just wanted to end this video by thanking you for your continued support. You all mean so much to me, and I hope that you're doing well. Please comment and like if you enjoyed. Take good care, and sweet dreams.